The Christmas Eve air in the small Niger Delta fishing village of Abonnema was thick with the smell of roasting catfish and the sound of laughter. Women bustled around the market, men sat by the waterfront, puffing on their pipes, and children played suwe on the sandy paths. But while the village buzzed with festive cheer, deep in the shadows of the mangroves, something sinister brewed. That night, a group of fishermen, led by the stubborn but hilariously dramatic Ibinabo, would stumble upon a smuggler's secret, and by the next morning, Christmas in Abonnema would turn into a chaotic mix of betrayals, brawls, and a lesson none of them would ever forget. Ibinabo was a man of big dreams and an even bigger mouth. On Christmas Eve morning, he strutted through the village square, his battered fishing net slung over one shoulder and a half-eaten roasted yam in his other hand. "Today, my people, today na history," he declared, his voice echoing over the lagoon. "Them go write my name for Niger Delta history books. I go catch fish, we go make Lagos people bow." Ebi, his younger cousin, rolled his eyes as he trailed behind. "Ibinabo, abig no start. Every year you talk this nonsense, but na crayfish we dey chop for Christmas." "Ebi, shut up there," Ibinabo snapped. "This year na different. You go see." The two cousins set out on their rickety wooden canoe, paddling into the sparkling waters of the lagoon. The mangroves swayed gently in the breeze, and the occasional splash of a fish breaking the surface was the only sound aside from their bickering. As they cast their nets, Ebi asked, "Ibinabo, wetin go happen if we no catch anything?" "Catch wetin?" Ibinabo retorted. "Even if fish no dey this lagoon, I go find something. My Christmas no fit spoil." Little did they know, he would get more than he bargained for. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ibinabo's net came up empty once again. He sighed dramatically, wiping sweat from his brow. "This lagoon don't swear for me." "Maybe na your big mouth," Ebi teased, laughing. Ibinabo was about to retort when something caught his eye. Near the edge of the mangroves, hidden in the shadows, was a large canoe. It wasn't a regular fishing boat. It was too sleek, too new, and it was covered with a dark tarp. "Ibi, you dey see wetin I dey see," Ibinabo whispered, his dramatic flair replaced by genuine curiosity. Ibi squinted. "I dey see but that thing no look normal. Abeg make we waka comot." But Ibinabo's curiosity had already taken over. "You dey fear like woman, waiting if na treasure." "Treasure ka," Ebi hissed. "This no be Nollywood." Ignoring his cousin's protests, Ibinabo paddled closer to the mysterious canoe. With a dramatic flourish, he yanked the tarp aside and froze. Underneath were rows of metallic boxes, all sealed and stamped with bold red letters, highly flammable. "Jesus wept," Ebi gasped. "Ibinabo, na bomb?" "Shut up there," Ibinabo snapped. "This no be bomb. This na Oyibo business." "Abeg makiwi waka," Ebi pleaded. "This Christmas no suppose get wahala." But Ibinabo's eyes gleamed with greed. "If we sell this thing, we fit buy the whole village." By the time the cousins returned to the village, it was late, and the air was filled with the scent of roasted catfish and jollof rice. But Ibinabo had no time for food. He gathered the other fishermen in the square, his voice ringing with excitement. "My people, our Christmas done better," he announced, dragging one of the metallic boxes into the open. "See wetin we find for lagoon." The crowd gasped as the box's shiny surface caught the light. "Wetin be this?" one man asked. "Na Oyibo treasure," Ibinabo declared, puffing out his chest. "If we sell 'em, we go build mansions for everybody." Chief Okoro, the village elder, stepped forward, his face grim. "Ibinabo, you don't bring wahala come here. This thing no look normal. Abeg carry go back." "Carry wetin back?" Ibinabo retorted. "Chief, you too dey fear. Na opportunity be this." A heated debate broke out among the villagers. Some agreed with Ibinabo, eager to cash in on the mysterious cargo. Others, led by Chief Okoro, warned of the dangers, but before they could reach a decision, headlights pierced the darkness. The black SUVs stopped abruptly in the village square, their engines still rumbling as if to intimidate. Armed men stepped out, their faces obscured by shadows, and their AK-47 rifles glinting under the pale moonlight. The crowd of villagers froze, their festive cheer replaced by a collective sense of dread. The leader, a tall man with a scar running from his temple to his jawline, scanned the crowd with cold, calculating eyes. He didn't need to speak loudly. His presence alone commanded silence. "Who touched my goods?" he asked, his tone as sharp as a machete slicing through dry bamboo. No one answered. Even Ibinabo, whose mouth could outrun any situation, was struck dumb. Beside him, Ebi's knees wobbled like a goat caught in a lion's den. The scarred man raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a smile that sent shivers down spines. "So nobody touch am?" he asked again. "Good." He turned to his men and made a subtle hand gesture. In an instant, two of the smugglers grabbed burning firewood from a nearby suya stand and began torching the village's canoes. "Ah! Wetin be this?" one fisherman wailed as flames engulfed his prized boat. Women screamed. Children clung to their mothers. The chief's booming voice tried to regain control of the situation. Wait, abeg, we go talk. We no sabi say this goods na your own." The scarred man stopped in his tracks, his smirk returning. "Talk fast. My patience no dey plenty." Amid the chaos, Ibinabo whispered to Ebi, "You see wetin you cause?" "Me?" Ebi hissed. "No be you carry the goods come village?" The two cousins began arguing in whispers, their bickering so ridiculous that a nearby woman hissed, "Shut up, Una two! Una one kill us finish?" The scarred man walked toward Chief Okoro, his boots crunching on the gravel. "Chief," he said, his voice dripping with mock respect, "you go return my goods or I burn everything." Chief Okoro adjusted his traditional red cap, sweat glistening on his forehead. "My pikin, abeg cool down. We be peaceful people for this village. We no sabi say na your property." "Peaceful people no dey touch wetin no be their own," the man replied coldly. The chief gestured toward the metallic boxes now stacked in the square. "Your goods stay there. Abeg, carry 'em go." The scarred man's eyes narrowed. "You think say a go end like that? Who give Una permission to carry 'em? Somebody go pay for this insult." The villagers erupted in murmurs, many pointing at Ibinabo, who was suddenly more interested in the dirt under his feet. "Who be the leader?" the scarred man asked. The chief hesitated. We no really get leader like that." "Ibinabo na him leader," a voice shouted from the crowd. "Eh?" Ibinabo's head shot up, his eyes wide. He scanned the faces in the crowd, his heart racing. Who talked that thing? The scarred man's gaze locked on Ibinabo. "You, step forward," Ebi whispered furiously. "Oya, confess. Tell him say na mistake." "Shut up," Ibinabo hissed back. "I know they go anywhere." But two smugglers were already dragging him forward. The scarred man loomed over him, his presence suffocating. "You get one chance to explain yourself before I make you an example." Ibinabo's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Finally he blurted out, "My Oga no vex, na Christmas spirit confuse me." The scarred man stared at Ibinabo for a long moment, his face expressionless. Then he laughed, a deep menacing laugh that sent chills through the crowd. "Christmas spirit," he repeated, his tone mocking. "You go need Holy Spirit to save you if you try this nonsense again." Ibinabo nodded furiously, his cap slipping over his eyes. "I swear, Oga, I no go near Oyibo goods again." The scarred man stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Ibinabo could hear. "If I hear say you talk this matter outside, I go find you, and your Christmas no go ever complete." Ibinabo gulped, his knees wobbling. "Yes, Oga, no wahala." With a wave of his hand, the scarred man signaled his men to retrieve the goods. Within minutes, the smugglers were gone, leaving behind charred canoes and a traumatized village. As soon as the SUVs disappeared into the darkness, the villagers turned on Ibn Abo. "You don't carry wahala come spoil our Christmas," one man shouted. "See within your big mouth cause," another added. Ebi, ever the opportunist, joined in. "Ibn Abo, I talk 'em. I tell you say make we waka come out, but you know they here." Ibn Abo, still shaken, tried to defend himself. "How I go no say na smugglers? Abeg, una leave me. If no be me, them for burn this whole place." "Shut up," Chief Okoro bellowed. "You go pay for the damage to this village. Your greed nearly key all of us." The crowd roared in agreement. Ibn Abu, realizing he had no allies left, muttered, "No be my fault in na Christmas adventure." "Adventure go key you," a woman snapped. That night the village was eerily quiet. The burnt canoes smouldered in the darkness, a stark reminder of the night's chaos. Ibn Abu sat outside his small hut, staring at the lagoon. Beside him, Ibi leaned against a palm tree, chewing on roasted fish. "Ebi," Ibn Abu said quietly, "you think say dem go come back?" Ebi shrugged. "I no. But I know say if dem come back, I no go near you." The two cousins sat in silence, the weight of their actions pressing heavily on them. For the first time, Ibn Abu didn't have anything to say. On Christmas morning, the village awoke to the sound of a boat horn. A Nigerian Navy patrol boat glided into the lagoon, its officers scanning the shore. The villagers gathered nervously, unsure of what to expect. The commanding officer stepped onto the shore, his uniform crisp and his presence authoritative. "We hear say smugglers pass through here. Who get information?" The villagers glanced at one another, unsure of whether to speak. Finally, Chief Okoro stepped forward. "We no sabi much, but dem pass here last night." The officer nodded. "Good. We go track them. But if una see anything again, report immediately." As the Navy boat disappeared into the horizon, the villagers breathed a collective sigh of relief. As the villagers rebuilt their boats and lives, Ibn Abu couldn't resist the temptation gnawing at him. What exactly was inside those boxes? While the smugglers had taken most of the cargo, one small box had been left behind in the commotion, hidden under a pile of palm fronds near Ibn Abu's hut. Late that evening, when the village was asleep, Ibn Abu gathered Ebi in his hut. "Ebi, this thing they bug me. Wetin they inside this box? You know they curious?" Ebi eyed him warily. "Ibn Abu, abeg leave this matter. You want bring another wahala?" But Ibn Abu had already pried open the box with his rusted cutlass. Inside were dozens of tightly sealed plastic bags filled with a fine white powder. "Na flour?" Ebi asked, squinting. "Flour ke? You dey mad?" Ibn Abu hissed, lifting one of the bags and inspecting it. "See as it dey pure. This thing no be normal. Ebi, I think say, this na cocaine." Ebi's jaw dropped. "Coke? For real? The one way Oyibo people they use for big money?" "Yes now," Ibn Abu said, his eyes gleaming with greed. "This na millions of naira we dey see so. Imagine wetin we fit do if we sell "Sell wetin?" Ebi interrupted, grabbing his cousin by the shoulders. "You don't forget say them people fit come back, and if them catch us with this thing, na straight to jail." Ibn Abu paused, chewing on his lip as his mind raced. For a moment, even he seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. But then he puffed out his chest dramatically. En, so wetin? You think say I go fear? Abeg, Ebi, you too dey fear. If we handle this thing well, Christmas go sweet pass to ya." Ebi threw up his hands in frustration. "Na greed go key you, I swear." Just then, there was a sound outside. The cousins froze, their hearts pounding. Ebi whispered, "You hear that?" "Maybe na goat," Ibn Abu replied, though his voice wavered, but it wasn't a goat. Outside the hut, one of the smugglers crouched in the shadows. The following morning, the village awoke to the sound of roaring engines. The same black SUVs thundered into the square, their tires kicking up clouds of dust. This time there was no subtlety. Doors flew open, and armed men stormed out, their faces twisted with rage. The scarred leader stepped forward, his cold eyes scanning the frightened crowd. "Where is my box?" he barked. The villagers, still reeling from the events of Christmas Eve, exchanged confused glances. "Which box?" Chief Okoro asked, stepping forward. "You think say I dey play with Una?" the leader snapped. "We checked the goods last night, one box no day, and I know say na for this village a go day." At the back of the crowd, Ibinabo tried to shrink into the shadows, but his size and flamboyant demeanor made him impossible to miss. One of the smugglers pointed at him. "Oga, na him, na that fisherman." "Jesus wept," Ibinabo whispered under his breath as the crowd parted, leaving him exposed. The scarred man stalked toward him, his gun dangling menacingly at his side. "You," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Where is my box?" Ibinabo tried to muster his usual bravado, but the words came out shaky. "Oga, I swear, I no sabi wetin you dey talk." "Lie again," the scarred man growled, raising his gun. Before he could pull the trigger, Chief Okoro stepped between them. "I beg my Pekin, calm down. We no need bloodshed. If the box stay here, we go find am." The leader glared at the chief, then nodded. "You get 1 hour." The entire village was dragged into the search. Children poked around the mangroves, women turned over cooking pots, and the men searched the shore. Ibinabo, desperate to avoid suspicion, joined in, loudly declaring his innocence to anyone who would listen. "Me, I no fit steal," he exclaimed, overturning a pile of fishing nets. "Na my character, everybody know say I be honest man." "Honest man way they carry people property?" one of the women retorted, sending the crowd into laughter. Meanwhile, Ebi was sweating bullets. He knew exactly where the box was hidden, but couldn't bring himself to confess. Every time he caught Ibinabo's eye, his cousin shook his head subtly, warning him to keep quiet. Finally, after nearly an hour, one of the smugglers found the box hidden under palm fronds near Ibinabo's hut. "Oga, see am!" he shouted triumphantly. The scarred man opened the box, inspecting the contents with a grim smile. "Good," he said, snapping it shut. Then he turned to Ibinabo. "You think say I no go find am?" "Oga, I beg na mistake," Ibinabo wailed, dropping to his knees. "No be me. Na village spirit hide am for my hut." "Spirit?" the scarred man echoed, his expression darkening. He raised his gun and the villagers gasped, but before he could pull the trigger, the sound of sirens cut through the air. A Nigerian Navy patrol boat roared into view, its officers leaping onto the shore with weapons drawn. "Drop your weapons!" their commander barked. The smugglers hesitated, but the sight of the Navy rifles made them think twice. One by one, they dropped their guns and raised their hands. The villagers erupted into cheers, their fear replaced by relief. Ibinabo, sensing an opportunity, jumped to his feet and pointed at the scarred man. "Na dem! I talk am! I dey try to protect this village, but dem no hear me." Ibi smacked him on the back of the head. "Protect wetin? You almost key all of us." By the time the smugglers were loaded onto the Navy boat, peace had finally returned to Abonnema. The villagers gathered in the square that evening to celebrate, their laughter echoing across the lagoon. Plates of jollof rice and roasted fish were passed around, palm wine flowed freely, and for the first time in days, the air felt light again. Chief Okoro stood in the center of the square, his walking stick tapping rhythmically against the ground as he addressed the crowd. "My people, today we thank God for sparing our lives. But make we no forget one thing. Greed no day lead person to good place, and as we rebuild, let us also thank God for small mercies, like the fact say Ibinabo no burn down this village." The crowd erupted into laughter, and Ibinabo, despite his bruised ego, managed a sheepish grin. "Chief, abeg, no dey use me do example," he called out, his voice drowned by the growing chorus of giggles. Later that night, under the soft glow of lanterns and a clear starry sky, Ibinabo sat on a wooden bench outside his hut, staring at the lagoon. Ebi joined him, dragging a stool and carrying 2 calabashes of palm wine. Ibinabo, Ebi began, his tone unusually serious. You done learn lesson now. Lesson? Ibinabo scoffed, tossing a pebble into the water. I beg. Life no sweet if you no take risk. But next time I go pick better adventure. Ebi burst into laughter, nearly spilling his drink. Better adventure? You no go ever change, I swear. Weeks later, the story of the smuggling incident had grown into legend. Around the lagoon, children mimicked the events with exaggerated theatrics. Dem say Ibinabo fight the smugglers with bare hands, one boy shouted, waving a stick in the air. Bare hands, Kay? No be him hide under canoe? Another retorted, sending the group into fits of laughter. For Ibinabo, the fame wasn't quite what he had imagined. Villagers now greeted him with teasing chants of "Adventure go key you," even during the morning fish market. Chief Okoro, always quick with a jab, would chuckle during village meetings, saying, "Make sure say Ibinabo no go near another box this year." But despite the endless teasing, life in Abonnema settled back into its usual rhythm. The canoes were repaired, the fishermen returned to their nets, and the festive season faded into memory. The lagoon, its secrets once disrupted, shimmered peacefully under the golden sun, preparing for another year. As the sun dipped behind the mangroves one quiet evening, Ibinabo and Ebi sat by the water, their fishing rods dangling lazily into the lagoon. The air was calm, broken only by the occasional splash of a fish. Ebi, Ibinabo said, his voice soft and reflective. That night, I really think Seydem go kimi. Ebi snorted. Now only you go carry wahala come and still get luck. I swear, next time you fit, no get ham. Ibinabo smirked, lifting his rod as it twitched slightly. Life na risk, but I no go lie. Next Christmas I go stay house. Better make sure of Ebi shot back, grinning. And as the cousins sat there, bickering and laughing under the fading sunlight, the village's gentle rhythm continued. The lagoon, now calm and undisturbed, seemed to sparkle with a quiet promise. As long as no one like Ibinabo stirred trouble, peace would remain. The villagers of Abonnema would remember that chaotic Christmas Eve for years to come, each retelling more colourful than the last. But they all agreed on one thing. No one, not even Ibinabo, would dare disturb the lagoon's peace again.